the final episode of That Team Out West. All 32 minutes, mind you. If you know that reference, then you are a true Locked On Ducks fan. I very much appreciate you. But this one was focused on depth. And Joel Klatt had a good line in there. And I actually got a question from one of you, is either via comment or via the Insider program. I don't remember, but it was about how important depth is for Oregon this year. And Joel Klatt says that, he says in That Team Out West video that it's more important this year than it ever has been before because this is the longest college football season ever, potentially. The longest one Oregon has ever played was the national championship year. This one could be even longer than that. Let's say Oregon does exactly what I think they're going to do and go 12-0, and they go to the Big Ten championship game. Let's say they lose that game to Ohio State and they're 12-1. That's going to land them as the number 5 seed. They'll get a home playoff game at Autzen Stadium. Then they play that first round game. You have a quarterfinal, a semifinal, a national championship game. That could be a very long season. That could be the longest season Oregon has ever played. So, yeah, depth is going to be a critical factor this year. And I like that they highlighted certain guys like a Charlie Pickard, for instance, who could very well is likely to be Oregon starting center, former walk-on, and they were giving him all sorts of love. I thought that was really great. And then he had the moment where, when guys are mic'd up, they're so funny sometimes. And he was just kind of alone at practice, and he goes, "I just want to say, Mom, Dad, I love you, appreciate you." And then he ends it with, "I always wanted to say that." he just kind of goes along. But I loved this series over the last 4 weeks. It was something that I look forward to in the middle of the week. I think it's excited a lot of Oregon fans and given just such a great look of what it's like to be a part of the Oregon football program. And I think that's a great thing for everyone that is following this team or is excited to watch this team this year to see how do they act behind the scenes. Like some of this stuff was obviously specifically to Oregon new to me because I haven't seen that stuff behind the scenes. But I was thinking about it from a standpoint of someone who doesn't, as I currently am traveling with a college football team and see those sorts of interactions or coaches meetings or players, joking around and being like that. And I think it's awesome for fans to be able to see that other side. And a couple other takeaways I had watching this was it looked to me like they were really driving home and highlighting that college football is fun. College football is fun. I know sometimes, when Oregon lost the Pac-12 championship game last year or in 2021, that wasn't fun. But fundamentally, college football is fun. It is a great thing. Yeah, there are negative aspects to it. There's this, that, and the other thing, but it's fun. These kids love it, and they're grateful for the opportunity. And, as someone who spends a lot of time around college athletes, the overwhelming majority are kind, hardworking, grateful, appreciative, fun-loving guys who are happy to have the opportunity that is presented to them and that they have worked for, and they have an appreciation of that. I thought this episode really highlighted the fun aspects of college football and showcased these guys' personalities a little bit. And I thought that was great. The other big takeaway I had was the emphasis on family, not Oregon football family specifically, but literal family. You had Will Stein's adorable new baby daughter in the photo shoot at Autzen Stadium with her big baby brother. I thought that was just wonderfully wholesome content. And you had Dan Lanning's son. And I mean, maybe my favorite part of the entire episode, hearing Dan Lanning talk about how excited he is that his son wants to play football. He's talking to, I forget who he was talking to. It might've been Chris Hampton or another assistant coach. And he was saying, "Oh yeah," he came up, he said, I want to play. And Lanning is just fired up. He loves it. He loves that his son, like just there, there's obviously something that has to make you smile just watching a dad play catch with his son, but certainly that seeing his face light up, talking about his son and then having him go through, some training drills with the guys and how they were helping him out. And, he thought it was so cool to be mic'd up and whatnot. I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really great. Like I laughed more during this episode than I have in previous ones. Like when Mike Cavanaugh, the assistant offensive line coach, has everybody over for dinner, the offensive linemen, and they're showing how much food they have to make for all those guys. I was at the Southern Utah team dinner earlier tonight as I'm recording the show, and we were at a Brazilian steakhouse, which if you haven't been to one of those before, they just keep bringing you meat. When you get football players, linemen, the offensive linemen were at the table behind me. They can eat a lot of food. as you can imagine, they can eat a lot of food. And so seeing Mike Cavanaugh and his wife prepare all that stuff for those guys. But then the best moment of that whole thing was, Ty Burrell was narrating and they were playing off the cards and whatnot. Alik Terry beats a Johnny Cornelius. I don't even know what cards game they were playing, but he throws down the winning card and starts just letting him hear it. Like, I thought it was fantastic. So I loved it. The family approach that they took to this one, how much fun it was, the bloopers at the end. I think Patrick Herbert was standing next to, I think he might have been next to Sadiq or somebody, or T. Ferguson. And he just said, should we rob the cameraman after this? And then they turn and look at the camera. I thought it was great. I hope they do this every year. I thought this was wildly fun, informative for fans that perhaps don't listen to or watch Locked On Ducks as an everydayer, as many of you are, and I very much appreciate you all. But certainly something that I found to be a highly, highly enjoyable thing to watch. Couple of things to wrap up with on today's show. A fun question. Before we get to that, though, something Oregon fans should be aware of. So if you are still a traditional cable watcher, I know there are many of you out there. I hope you have heard. If you not, just letting you know, at this moment, as I'm recording the show, 11:35 p.m. Mountain Time on Wednesday, August 28th, 2024, Comcast, I have many thoughts on Comcast. Many thoughts. Comcast is in a dispute, and if Oregon's game were on Thursday, you wouldn't be able to watch it if you had the basic cable package that they have. There's a dispute, essentially, and it has not been settled. I suspect it'll get settled. If you have YouTube TV, which is a great product, if you have YouTube TV, this does not affect you. But if you have traditional cable and Comcast and you're trying to watch the game this Saturday on Big Ten Network, you need to just be following along with the updates here. That's my biggest suggestion, and the PSA I'm putting out there is read the articles on it from people who are covering the stuff. Canzano had a piece that went out recently. Go check that out. If you can't find the link, let me know, and I can shoot it your way. But stay up to date with it, because you want to be able to watch the game. Obviously, Jerry and Jorgie on the radio call, that's like they're a fantastic tandem. And I've had Jorgie on the show before and met him a couple times. Like he's an awesome guy. He and Jerry do a great job. I think everybody knows that. But you want to watch the game. You want to watch the game on TV, and everybody understands that. So make sure you're keeping up to date with whether they have figured this out. And if they don't by Saturday, which would be a colossal failure for the 4 new West Coast teams coming into the Big Ten, then try to find a way to watch the game, or find somebody who's got a friend who's got YouTube TV or something of that particular nature. So wanted to make sure that every Oregon fan out there that I can get in touch with has been made aware of that, if you have not seen it in the last couple of days. Again, my guess is it gets resolved, because it would be a PR nightmare to not carry the games in the region where the teams are actually playing. But Comcast is not great. That is all I will say. All right, fun question here from MoodyMan22. Asked this last year, going to ask it again this year, because I just had my fantasy draft last night. I had mine a couple days ago. You can pick your own fantasy football team, college edition. Who's your QB, RB1, RB2, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, tight end, defense/special teams, and kicker. Can't wait for Saturday. Go Ducks. In all of college football, if I were drafting a college fantasy team, QB1, Jalen Milroe. Got to have the rushing yards factor. I also thought about Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. They put up a bunch of numbers, but the legs component, I went Jalen Milroe. Running backs, Trevor Etienne at Georgia and Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State. I think Etienne is going to have a huge year. Receivers, Luther Burden, Missouri, Tetero McMillan at Arizona. They're both going to have probably 13 to 1,400 yard seasons this year. Tight end, Colston Loveland at Michigan. Really, really good football player. I'll take Georgia's defense, and I'll take Graham Nicholson, the kicker at Bama, who transferred from Miami of Ohio, that led to the Miami of Ohio football coach saying that they stole our kicker. So just for that fun factor. And he also happens to be a really, really good player. A look at Idaho is coming tomorrow with hopefully my guy Max Torres of the Duck Stitch podcast. Make sure you catch that. Thanks for making this your first listen. Go make Locked On College Football your second. I host giving you the biggest stories in the greatest sport on planet Earth every single day, and reaction shows to games that are not Oregon all throughout the season. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.